Hi there, I'm Deb Crowe, and I want to welcome you to Season 4 of Imperfect, the Heart-Centered Leadership Podcast. This is a podcast where we connect, learn, and laugh together with authentic and courageous leaders from all over the globe. You will learn from leaders you haven't even met yet. You will gain new tools to add to your leadership toolkit, because leadership belongs to all of us. It is not measured by stature or title. So please pull up a chair and listen in. This is the Imperfect, Heart-Centered Leadership Podcast. Well, welcome back to Imperfect, the Heart-Centered Leadership Podcast. Special day for me today on so many levels. This is our last episode for Season 4. I can't even believe I'm saying that. We're going to take a short break and go dark for June, and we'll be back for Season 5. And I'm creating an heirloom memory today in my life, as my guest is Laura Crowe. And you guessed it right. She is my youngest daughter. She is finishing her presidency term at the King's University College Student Council. And it was such a mother-daughter moment. She said, "Mom, why aren't you having me on your podcast?" So I'm going to say kudos to you, Laura. A little bit of assertive leadership, and it's time to celebrate you. But the most special moment for me as your mom is that this is going to be out on the internet forever. So when I'm old and gray and someday gone, you're going to be able to look back on this and have a laugh and maybe shed a tear. So this is special. So welcome, President Crowe.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So she's getting no special treatment. I've done my due diligence. I live with her. I know what her presidency term has been with. So it's really important that I wanted to have this interview on a more serious note, because Laura, like many other university students or people in their mid to late 20s, they're emerging leaders. And I strongly believe it's important for leaders who are a little bit down the road, like myself, to help forge the path. If we can hold off the tsunami and share not our knowledge, but our wisdom with these emerging leaders, I think they're going to have less fail forwards, because we talk a lot about failing and imperfection and how that really is the dynamic equation to success. So I'm going to ask Laura some really deep leadership questions that she does not know. She has had no special treatment, and I'm ready to go. But before we do, Laura, we stopped doing bios this year because I can tell everyone how great you are and who you are. And we're all about being imperfect and storytelling on the podcast. So share with our listeners a little bit about who is Laura Crowe and what you did this year.
Okay. Well, I'll do a little bit of a bio-y thing. So I'm entering into my 6th year of my undergraduate degree. I sustained a brain injury about 3 or 4 years ago, so that slowed me down in my academic journey. So I had to go down from full-time to part-time, and a traditional undergrad degree is completed in 4 years, but I'm probably going to do it in 7, but that's okay because I'm going at my own pace. I've been a really heavily involved student leader on the campus that I attend ever since my first year. And this year, I ran to be president for the student council of my university, and I ran unopposed. So it was a vote of confidence, and I won the vote of confidence. And it has been a tremendous learning experience. And I feel that my professional leadership, even personal growth, has skyrocketed throughout this entire year. So I'm really grateful for this experience and all that I have learned. And I'll leave it there.
Okay, so I'm going to dive into these leadership questions, and I have to say, they're good. So buckle up.
Okay.
Okay, first question. What do you believe has been the most significant leadership challenge during your tenure as student council president, and how did you approach it?
That's a great question. Okay, I'm just going to say the first thing that kind of pops into my mind. I think the most challenging part of being a leader this year was to remain professional and practice the art of decorum when let me start again.
We like imperfection on the show, so take your time.
I'm thinking how to word this. I think I was just really taken aback and found it challenging to navigate conversations when someone was being disrespectful or unkind. And we always joke around the office and say the motto from Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. And that was extremely hard at some points this year because, you sort of just have a visceral emotional reaction that you want to act on. But as a leader, we obviously can't be doing that. So it was a real art to kind of learn how to navigate those conversations when someone was just being outwardly unkind. So I think that was kind of my biggest challenge this year, of having to navigate those conversations and still remain who I am as a leader, and while also being professional.
Well, and I think it's important to note, as a leadership coach, I can share with you wholeheartedly that it doesn't matter if you're a brand new leader, an emerging leader, an accidental leader, a seasoned leader, or at the top of the food chain, a C-suite. Learning the art of equanimity, by definition, is mental calmness and composure. It is a skill that has to be honed and sustained. And we joke about it a lot when I'm coaching. If we could all regulate our emotions, what a different world it would be. So I think it's kind of impactful that you've chosen to answer the question in that regard. And I'm sure a lot of young and emerging and upcoming leaders will probably feel an alliance with you. So good job. Okay, second question, my favorite question. It has permanent residency on the show. It comes with candor. It comes with humor. I'll remind you, it's a 30-minute show. What imperfections has Laura brought to her heart-centered leadership this year?
I think just like the art of messing up. It's going to happen. And, as a leader, whether it's you that messed up or, someone on the team, and you just acknowledge it. You make amends if needed, you apologize, and you just move forward with it. And I think that's something that's really been solidified this year, is making mistakes and messing up or saying or doing the wrong thing. It's inevitable in leadership and just as a human being. And those small errors don't define you as a leader or as a person. So I think that this year that was something that I really tried to hone in for the entire team, that when that did occur, it was okay. And just kind of reminding them, it's going to happen and we just move on. So that's kind of what comes to the mind. I don't know if you want me to share more.
I think it's interesting when we fail forward. And for me, there's nothing like having a good laugh at myself. Sometimes it's literally like a laugh out loud. And it comes with ease, I think, as you get older, mature, have more experience, and you can convert it easily into a learning opportunity because you are older and wiser and have that level of maturity. So I'm happy to hear that there's been celebrations of fail forward. Love the Michelle Obama strategy. And who doesn't love that? And if that isn't kind of synonymous of being silent sometimes is such a superpower. And again, it's honed and sustained with practice and experience. So I love it. Okay, third question. Can you share a specific example of how you effectively fostered collaboration and teamwork among your fellow council members to achieve a common goal?
So one of the first things I did when I came in as president was reorganize our office. There was 4 desks for an executive, and they were against the wall. So one of the first things I did was remove those, and I put all the desks together in the middle of the room, and then kept the other desk kind of against the wall, if that makes sense. And that really changed the energy and vibe of the office. So then the execs, they had to look at each other, they had to talk, and it really fostered collaboration, just changing the physical space. And I think a lot of what we did this year and we've been celebrating it, is collaboration. We've been working with not only our own team, but expanding what does it look like to collaborate with other departments or other external partnerships. I think collaboration is so vital to hone in as a team because two heads are far better than one. And also, I think I've learned this year, a lot of people are doing a lot of different great things. So why duplicate it and fight for attendance? Why not come together and collaborate on something and do it successfully as a team?
Absolutely. And you know what? I often in my own professional life and as well as my clients, when we foster the diversity, even if we share the same extrinsic role and responsibility, we all have different habits of thinking. And my favorite 3 words are always tell me more. Because when you get to hear a perspective from someone else that's completely different for yours, not only does it augment, but that fosters the teamwork and collaboration. And to me, that's a win. And we're better together. And then there is no separation. There is no competition. There's just joy and achievement with innovation and progression. And to me, that's a win-win. I love it. Okay, last leadership question. Reflecting on your experience as student council president, what key leadership lesson or insight have you gained that you believe will positively influence your future endeavors?
That you don't need to be the person that is always talking in a meeting in a room, and allowing for other people in the room to share and divulge their ideas and their creativity. So I think that's, to me, that this may seem small, but I think it's really impactful because I always think of, there's a Denzel Washington quote that I think about all the time. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. And he's telling someone to stop being the loudest person in the room. So I think as a leader, and I look at other leaders, they think they know everything and they don't want to hear input or other ideas. And I think this year I've really tried to hone in on my team's ideas because they have great ideas. And I've never sat in this chair thinking that I know all the answers or have all the answers or is even going to do everything right. So I think that is something I've honed those skills this year that I will just continue to develop and take with me. Because I think no matter what title or level you are in a team, you have value and you have the ability to contribute to our common goal. So I think kind of those pieces is what I'm taking away.
So I'm going to add on to this because of the way you answered that. So thinking about what you just said in observations of other leaders, it doesn't matter at what level. If you sit in the observer's chair, why do you think that people are so verbose in meetings, or, it's the hand up, like, I want to talk, pick me. Where do you think that behavior stems from? And has that been an observation that you've put in your leadership toolkit this year?
For sure. I think it stems from insecurity and lack of validation. I reflect on, the many meetings I've had this year, and or on a more positive side, it can stem from just extreme passion for whatever the topic is, and the multitude and the high level of care that they have for whatever the purpose of the meeting is or the institution as a whole. So I think it can kind of stem from 3 different avenues. It can stem from insecurity and you're trying to prove something to everybody in the room. Or it can stem from you just really care about what is being discussed and you just feel really passionate about the topic. So I think it varies sort of person to person.
Great answer. Okay, I'm going to switch to my Fab 4. These are just 4 fun questions. We don't want you to think. We want to know what's on top of that young, emergent, brilliant mind of yours. Okay, first question. What word or phrase shows up in your leadership language daily?
The first thing that popped into my mind was when they go low, we go high. I think about that daily. I printed off that quote and I put it up beside my desk. And then we have quotes in a communal area. And I asked everyone to put up their favorite leadership quote. So that is one of my favorites. So I put it up there. Then I put it up on my whiteboard. And we constantly just say it to each other because I think when you again, are having those really difficult conversations and someone is being unkind, it is so easy to stoop down to that level and change your character and just react. But when you're able to regulate the emotions, practice equanimity, it just changes everything.
It does. It really does. Okay, second question. Name a book that you've read at any time in your life that you found to be impactful. What is the name of the book? And if you can remember the author, and why was it impactful?
I think what's coming to mind is Wild from Cheryl Strayed. I think Cheryl Strayed. Her whole story and journey of, a massive amount of trauma and going into nature and finding herself and redefining her character and who she is. I just really enjoyed that story and really resonated with it. So that's sort of the first thing that popped into my mind.
Okay, my next question is always fun, and I look forward to hearing your answer. So I'm granting you a wish. You get to have dinner with any leader of your choice, and this leader could be living or they may have passed away. Who are you having dinner with, and what is the dinner conversation?
I would have it with my grandpa. My grandpa has passed, and I only remember him when he was post-stroke, and it was always really difficult to hear him or to understand him speaking, but we always try to have conversations. And I think as I've ebbed and grown in different interests as I get older, I'm very interested in politics and policy and the law, and I love learning about history. And I've learned that he also shared those interests. So I think it would just be so cool to have a conversation with him now about all of the shared interests that we had that I didn't have when I was super young, when he was still living.
Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation. And I think it would be a long and ongoing one that he would have loved. So that's interesting. Okay, so before we close out the show, I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for wanting to be on the podcast. See the things you don't pick up on as a mother. And sometimes your kids just have to say, hey, I want to be on your show. I have totally seen exponential growth in you as a young woman, as an emerging leader. And I know your future's bright. And before I have you finish out the show, is there any other words or comments that you would like to give to any emerging leaders or to your team or to Taryn, the general manager, before we finish up?
Yeah, I think, as a young adolescent, I never saw a massive future for myself, and I never would have characterized myself as a leader or even have thought of myself as a leader in the future. So I think, if anyone that's like young listening to this, just know that, I know you say this all the time, Mom, but anyone can be a leader, and you can achieve anything you put your mind to. I often have pinch me moments this year where I still can't believe I am the president of my student body. And if you were to tell 15-year-old Laura, she probably would have laughed in your face. So I think it's just been really interesting to see my growth in the last 10 years, and that believing in yourself really can go a long way. And then the second thing I would say is just apply to things. Just do it. Even if you think you'll never get it or they will never pick you, just do it, because you literally never know. And I think often, especially as women, we undervalue and undersell ourselves when we have a multitude of skills and expertise. So I think also just knowing that in the back of your head or the front of your head, that are you undervaluing yourself in this situation? I often feel that in rooms with, big leaders and big names and the big players around the institution. And the dean of students reminds me all the time that I have value and I do have expertise as the student leader. So I'm very appreciative that he reminds me that on the frequent. But yeah, I think just as women, we continue to undervalue ourselves. So that's been something I've been trying to work on this year. And I would just encourage other young female leaders to do the same, that you have value and to know that.
And any kudos or words of wisdom for Taryn or the team?
Yeah, I'm so beyond proud of what we achieved this year as a team. We all worked so incredibly hard. When I look back on each of the executives, all the representatives, the commissioners, the coordinators, I really feel like everyone set a precedent for what each of those roles are and what it really means to be a student leader on our campus. So I'm just filled with immense gratitude and joy of what each person on the team achieved. And for our general manager, you keep bringing up Taryn, just super grateful for his support and advice and mentorship. Taryn is the right-hand man to me. So I'm just super grateful that of the relationship that we've built. And yeah.
And one last thing, we had a nice surprise last weekend when Taryn invited myself and your dad to see your outgoing speech that you gave, which was excellent. We loved it when you practiced it in the living room, and we didn't understand why Taryn was inviting us. What's part of your legacy that was a surprise for you from Taryn?
That is so funny that you're bringing this up. It's funny because I don't like to state this because I think I don't know. So I got to work through that, I guess. Yeah. So each executive got presented with a plaque, an award, and our general manager presented mine to me, and the KUCSC board of directors decided to create a award in my name, an honor for the work that I've done this year as a leader. They felt that I had went above and beyond in the job and the description of the job. So they, decided to do an award in my name. So students will be able to apply for this funding if they've demonstrated strong leadership or went above and beyond or has built community. We're still sort of figuring out the criteria, but that will be, should be open up in the fall for King's students. But just an immense honor and just filled with such deep level of gratitude. And
you have a scholarship in your name for the next 5 years. If that is not a demonstration of legacy, step into it, celebrate it. You worked hard. And I have immense gratitude for Taryn for just being in awe of your leadership. And he has told me over the course of the year how much he's learned from you. And that's the joy of working alongside of each other and everyone bringing and fostering their own leadership. We learn from each other. We all come with different life experiences. So I hope you're proud. I'm sure we'll celebrate even more. And I'm going to ask you to finish out the podcast by finishing this sentence for me. And I'm going to buy you a new pair of sunglasses because I know your future is going to be bright. All right, finish this sentence for me and we'll finish out the show. Heart-centered leadership is
sitting in someone's shoes before you begin to judge them.
Thanks so much for joining me today on Imperfect, the Heart-Centered Leadership Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the show today and have learned some new tools for your leadership toolkit from our amazing heart-centered guest. If you like the show, feel free to give us a rating and a review, and we always welcome your feedback anytime. If you're ready to master the art of heart, my new book, The Heart-Centered Leadership Playbook, is now available on Amazon, or you can click the link below in our description.